Howdy, Ags. My name is Ruben Uribe, and my Aggies with Artifacts artifact is the Texas-Mexican Railway. The Texas-Mexican Railway passes between Mexico and Texas through my hometown, Laredo, Texas. It is the train that made me late to class a lot of mornings, and also the train my West Side friends would hop on to visit their East Side friends, and vice versa. Side note, do not do that. Train hopping is incredibly dangerous and illegal in the United States, though it speaks to the poor passenger rail service in America, especially small communities. Construction began on the Tex-Mex Railway in 1875 from San Diego, not that San Diego, the Texas San Diego over here, to Corpus Christi. This railroad was used to transport sheep to the Gulf of Mexico where they could be transported by ship abroad. Construction completed in 1879. At this time, the route was known as the Corpus Christi, San Diego, and Rio Grande Narrow Gauge Railroad Company. By 1881, the railroad was sold to a new group and renamed to the Texas-Mexican Railway. The new owning group were led by William J. Palmer and James Sullivan. They had a lot of cash and were working on developing the Mexican National Railway, a line running between Mexico City and Laredo, Texas. They quickly made plans to extend the Tex-Mex Railway from San Diego to Laredo and be able to provide rail service from Mexico City to Corpus Christi and everywhere in between. By 1833, in just 2 short years, the extension plans were realized, and the Tex-Mex Railroad ran from Corpus Christi, Texas to Nuevo Laredo, Tamaulipas, in Mexico. The Mexican National Railway was completed in 1888, finally connecting Mexico City and Corpus Christi by rail. The Tex-Mex Railway began as a narrow-gauge track 3 feet wide. However, in 1902 it was upgraded to standard gauge 4 feet 8.5 inches wide. The company had plans to add a spur to the railway connecting Laredo to Eagle Pass, but these plans fell flat, and only a few miles of track were laid going north of Laredo, roughly 5 miles. The Mexican government acquired controlling interest in the Tex-Mex Railway in the year 1900 and retained control for over 80 years before selling the railway to Grupo Transportación Ferroviaria Mexicana. In 2004, Kansas City Southern acquired controlling interest of the Texas-Mexican Railway, and on January 1, 2005, Kansas City Southern bought the remaining shares. Today, the Texas-Mexican Railway is its own legal entity, but it is a subsidiary company of Kansas City Southern. Functionally, Kansas City Southern and the Texas-Mexican Railway operate as one cohesive railway. Kansas City Southern's acquisition of the Texas-Mexican Railway served to connect their Mexican routes that went as far north as Nuevo Laredo down to Veracruz, with its United States routes that span 10 U.S. states: Illinois, Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Texas. To this day, the Texas-Mexican Railway contributes to a lot of commerce between the United States and Mexico. According to the Federal Railroad Administration, Laredo has the most freight rail traffic among the southern border rail ports of entry. In 2015, Laredo received 3,758 inbound trains, that is trains entering the United States from Mexico, and the value of these commodities on those trains totaled upwards of 18 million US dollars.
I've crossed the tracks of the Texas Mexican Railway so many times growing up, but I've never taken the opportunity to learn about the history of how those tracks got there and their importance on the state's commerce. I'm glad you came aboard to this journey into the artifact's history. Thanks and gig 'em.